Now we want to take a look at the research piece. If you recall from my lecture about research for street art number 2, the key thing to think about was not so much finding information on the web about the exact building you were going to talk about, but instead looking for broader ideas of background and context. So where was it built? You could do research on the city or place that the building was built. That certainly would be easy to find on the web. When was it built? You could explore things that were happening in America or the community at the time it was built, and how it was built. That gets you into sort of architectural styles, like was it suburban, was it commercial, was it coastal, was it desert, was it ranch? All sorts of different ideas and terms you can use and explore for to give background on the building that you're looking at. And then, of course, remember you want to have a range of sources. It's okay to have some web stuff, and those websites won't meet all 4 of our criteria, but that's okay as long as you explain how they do or don't meet the criteria and how you use the source, you're going to be good. The point isn't that all of your sources have to meet all 4 criteria. The point is that you're able to see when a source does or does not meet the criteria and explain to me, your reader, why you're still using it. Now, of course, the better the sources, the better your writing's going to be. So if you can find books and database articles and use just books and database articles, your sources are going to be stronger. But that doesn't mean you can't use web stuff as well. But a list of sources that strictly comes from the web and does not include any academic or scholarly sources from the library will not be A-level work. With that in mind, let's take a look at what I have found for the paragraph that I drafted earlier. So in the previous video, I showed you the paragraph I drafted about a suburban home in Temecula. In this video, I want to show you the 3 sources I found. I found, first of all, 2 articles from Pop Culture Universe. The first was about architecture in the 1980s, and the second was about suburbia. So those are 2 important ideas that were helpful to me. Architecture in the 80s and suburban culture. Notice those are both database articles. And what's great about the database articles is you can click on the Cite button or the citation button and it generates the MLA citation for you. So all I had to do was cut and paste. I didn't have to design this at all. Now, in terms of our evaluation, remember that we're doing 4 things. 5 things, actually. First, we talk about how current the source is. Second, we talk about the authority and expertise of the author. Third, we talk about the supplemental resources, notes, works cited, bibliographies, etc. And fourth, we talk about the attempts to address and reduce bias in the source. Finally, we tell our reader how we use this source. And this is really important because if you have a good reason to use a source, then any weaknesses in the 4 criteria are okay because you've thought about them, you've identified them, and you've still decided to use the source. The second source I looked at was a book. I just wanted to talk to you about the value of using a book. Again, when you use the library catalog, it generates a citation for you. I clicked on the Cite button and voila, there was my citation. Same structure for the evaluation, currency, authority of the author, or authority and expertise, supplemental resources, in this case, detailed notes and a bibliography. That's the benefit of an academic or scholarly book. And finally, ways of working on dealing with bias. And I wrote a little bit more about that one because I had a better sense of what was going on there. Finally, a sentence at the end that tells you what you use this source for. Tells the reader what you use this source for. By the way, I noticed a mistake there. This isn't an article, is it? It's a book. So I'll probably fix that later. And then the last one is, again, another database source. Now, I could have found some web stuff, and you're welcome to find web stuff too, but I wanted to show you the value of these higher level sources, particularly the value of the database and how it can help you find the database and can find you some really useful articles, and the library catalog where it's not too hard to find cool related books. And remember, if you're stuck on either of these things, if you're stuck on the databases or the library catalog, that's where you want to reach out to a research librarian. That's where you want to reach out to KD, our Writing Center resource, or you want to reach out to me for some specific help and guidance. Okay. In fact, I just got a really cool email from a student asking for that, and that allowed me to help them and point them in some useful directions. All right, so that's it for this video. In the third video, I'm going to show you how I integrated material from these three sources into my actual final draft.